You know your marriage is falling apart when the Wi-Fi password is her ex-boyfriend's nickname. I discovered this little gem 3 days before our housewarming party, sitting in my own kitchen, trying to connect my laptop to our home network. The password field mocked me. Miles, the Great 123. Not exactly subtle, Vanessa. My name is Ethan Doyle, and I design high-end home security systems for wealthy suburbanites who think motion sensors can protect them from their own poor life choices. The irony isn't lost on me that I spent 2 years installing cameras and smart locks in our dream house while my wife planned her escape route. Ethan, did you pick up the wine glasses from Williams-Sonoma? Vanessa called from the living room, her voice carrying that particular edge she'd perfected over the past 6 months. Everything I did was either too slow, too cheap, or too embarrassing for her refined tastes. Got them yesterday, I replied, watching her arrange flowers with the precision of a surgeon. At 36, Vanessa still turned heads at the grocery store. Marketing executive, yoga enthusiast, master manipulator. She had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room, right up until they weren't useful anymore. And you remembered the good champagne? Not that domestic stuff you usually buy? I bit back my first 3 responses. Dom Perignon, like you requested. She paused in her flower arranging, giving me that look wives perfect after years of marriage. Half disappointment, half surprise that I'd managed not to mess something up. Good, because Miles will be here Saturday. The words hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. Miles Grady. Her college boyfriend, the one who got away, the tech entrepreneur who sold his startup for $40 million, and still posted workout selfies on Instagram at 41. Miles is coming to our housewarming party. I kept my voice level, professional. The same tone I used when explaining to clients why their teenage daughter had triggered the motion sensors at 3 a.m. He's in town for business. I thought it would be nice to catch up. Vanessa's fingers worked the flower stems with unnecessary force. I hope you can be mature about this. Mature, right. Like it was mature for her to invite her ex-lover to our home without mentioning it until 3 days before the party. Like it was mature for her to use his name as our Wi-Fi password. Of course, I said. I'll be the perfect host. That evening, while Vanessa took one of her suspiciously long showers, I did what any rational husband would do. I checked her phone. She'd left it charging on the kitchen counter, face up, password disabled. Either she wanted me to find something, or she'd gotten careless in her excitement about seeing Miles again. The text thread with M made my stomach clench. Vanessa, can't wait to see you Saturday. It's been too long. Miles, same here? Think Ethan suspects anything? Vanessa, he's clueless, always has been. Just play nice for a few hours. Miles, and after the party? Vanessa, booked us a room at the Marriott downtown. Tell him you're staying there for business. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I scrolled up, finding weeks of messages, planning, scheming, laughing about my adorable naivety and my cute little security business. There were photos too, recent ones, Vanessa in lingerie I'd never seen before. My hands shook as I set the phone back exactly where I'd found it. 22 years together, 15 married. Our son Liam was at summer camp, thankfully spared from witnessing whatever performance his mother had planned for Saturday night. But here's the thing about designing security systems. You learn to think 3 steps ahead of the people trying to break in. You study their patterns, anticipate their moves, and prepare countermeasures they never see coming. Vanessa thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She had no idea I'd been watching her moves for months, documenting every late-night work meeting and every mysterious smile at her phone. I walked to my home office and opened the safe behind my desk. Inside, next to our important documents and my grandfather's watch, sat a thick manila envelope. Insurance, I'd called it when I started gathering evidence 3 months ago. Photos, bank statements, copies of text messages from her previous phone bills. But insurance implied I wanted to save something. What I really had was ammunition. Saturday morning arrived gray and humid. Typical Boston summer weather that made everyone's clothes stick and tempers run short. Perfect for what I had planned. Vanessa fluttered around the house like a nervous bird, adjusting place settings and checking her reflection in every mirror. She'd chosen a red dress that hugged every curve, paired with heels that added 3 inches to her height and 20 degrees to the temperature of every man's gaze. You look beautiful, I told her, and meant it. Even knowing what I knew, even planning what I was planning, she still took my breath away. Thank you. She seemed genuinely surprised by the compliment. When had we stopped saying nice things to each other? The first guests arrived at 6. Neighbors, co-workers, college friends I hadn't seen in years. Everyone wanted to tour our renovated colonial, admire the crown molding and the marble countertops that had cost more than my first car. Tommy Brennan showed up early, as promised. My oldest friend, an electrician who'd helped wire half the security systems I'd designed. He looked uncomfortable in his dress shirt and tie, but he'd come through when I'd asked for a favor. "Everything ready?" he asked quietly while Vanessa greeted the Hendersons from next door. I patted my jacket pocket. Just waiting for the guest of honor. At 7:15, the doorbell rang with a confidence that announced itself. I opened the door to find Miles Grady grinning at me like we were old fraternity brothers instead of romantic rivals. "Ethan, great to see you, buddy." His handshake was firm, practiced, the grip of a man who'd closed million-dollar deals. "Thanks for having me. Beautiful place you've got here." He was taller than I'd expected, with the kind of tan that came from ski trips to Aspen and sailing weekends in the Hamptons. His suit probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Miles, welcome." I smiled my best host smile. "Vanessa's been looking forward to seeing you." "Where is the lovely lady?" As if summoned, Vanessa appeared at my shoulder, her face lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Miles, you made it!" They embraced just long enough to be inappropriate, just short enough to maintain plausible deniability. I watched our guests notice, saw the raised eyebrows and knowing looks. "Can I get you a drink?" I asked. "We've got that 18-year scotch you mentioned loving." Miles looked surprised. "You remembered." "I remember everything." I handed him a glass, our fingers brushing briefly. His were soft, manicured. Mine were calloused from years of running cable and installing hardware. The party swirled around us, conversations flowing as freely as the alcohol. I played my role perfectly. The gracious host, the successful businessman, the devoted husband. Nobody suspected that I was counting down minutes until my carefully orchestrated finale. At 9:30, I excused myself to check on something in the kitchen. Tommy followed, as planned. "You sure about this?" he asked, glancing toward the living room where Vanessa and Miles held court near the fireplace. Never been more sure of anything in my life. I pulled out my phone and opened the app that controlled our smart home system. Every television, every speaker, every connected device in the house was about to become part of my presentation. "Ladies and gentlemen," I called out, raising my champagne glass, "could I have everyone's attention for a moment?" The conversations died down. Faces turned toward me expectantly. "Vanessa and I want to thank you all for coming tonight. This house represents a dream we've worked toward for years. It's filled with everything we value most: friendship, loyalty, and honesty." I caught Vanessa's eye across the room. She smiled, probably thinking I was about to give some sentimental speech about our marriage. "Speaking of honesty, I thought you might enjoy seeing some recent messages that really capture the spirit of openness we try to maintain in our relationship." I tapped my phone screen. Every television in the house lit up simultaneously, displaying screenshots of Vanessa's text conversation with Miles. The living room TV, the kitchen screen, even the tablet mounted by the front door. The reaction was immediate and electric. Gasps, nervous laughter, the sound of someone dropping a wine glass. Vanessa's face went white, then red, then white again. "Ethan, what are you—" "Oh, this is just the beginning, sweetheart." I scrolled to the next screenshot. "Here's where you two discuss my adorable naivety. And here's where Miles asks if you think I'm suspicious." Miles stepped forward, his politician's smile faltering. "Now hold on. This is a private conversation?" I laughed. "Nothing's private anymore, Miles. Haven't you heard? We live in the digital age." The crowd pressed closer, phones appearing as people started recording. Social media would have this story within minutes. "My personal favorite," I continued, displaying a particularly cruel exchange where they'd mocked my cute little security business and discussed how much money Vanessa would get in the divorce. "Ethan, please." Vanessa's voice cracked. "Can we discuss this privately?" "Like you discussed your hotel reservation privately? The Marriott downtown, right? Room 412? The silence stretched until Mrs. Henderson from next door cleared her throat. "Well," she said loudly, "I think Harold and I should be going." That broke the spell. People began gathering purses and making excuses, but nobody left. This was better than reality television. I walked to where Miles stood frozen, still holding his scotch. "I have something for you." I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope. Not the thick manila one from my safe, but a smaller white envelope I'd prepared that morning. "What's this?" Miles asked. "Open it." Inside was a single sheet of paper, a hotel reservation confirmation for the Marriott downtown. room 412, booked under his name and credit card. How did you... I told you, Miles, I design security systems. I know how to get into anything electronic, including hotel reservation systems and credit card databases. That room you thought Vanessa booked for your romantic evening, you're paying for it. All of it, including the champagne and strawberries she ordered for your arrival. Miles's face went through several interesting color changes. You can't just... Actually, I can. See, when you use someone else's Wi-Fi network to access your personal accounts, and that network happens to be designed by someone who specializes in digital security, well, I shrugged. Let's just say your privacy settings need work. Vanessa found her voice. This is insane. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? I looked around the room at our guests, all watching with fascination. Because from where I'm standing, I'm not the one who just got exposed cheating on my spouse in front of half the neighborhood. I turned back to Miles, who was reading the hotel confirmation with growing horror. Oh, and Miles? I took the liberty of upgrading your reservation to the honeymoon suite. Seemed appropriate, given the circumstances. The heart-shaped bathtub was an extra $200, but I figured you could afford it. This is harassment, Miles sputtered. I could sue you for... For what? Using publicly available information? Everything I accessed, you made available by connecting to my network and failing to use basic security protocols. I'd be happy to explain it to your lawyers. I'm sure they'll find the technical details fascinating. Tommy appeared at my elbow, grinning. Ethan, you beautiful genius. The crowd was definitely recording now. I could see the phones held high, capturing every moment of Miles's humiliation and Vanessa's shock. I announced to the room, this concludes our housewarming party. Thank you all for coming. I hope you found it educational. People began filing out, chattering excitedly. This would be the talk of the neighborhood for months. Vanessa grabbed my arm as I walked past her. We need to talk. No, I said quietly. We really don't. Your boyfriend's waiting for you at the Marriott. Don't keep him waiting. The champagne gets warm. I walked to the front door and held it open. Miles, Vanessa, your chariot awaits. Or did you plan to take separate cars to maintain the illusion? Miles straightened his tie, trying to salvage some dignity. This isn't over, Ethan. Oh, but it is. I smiled. At least your part in my life is over. Enjoy the hotel room. I hear the room service is excellent. They left together, Vanessa clutching Miles's arm like a life preserver. I watched their car disappear down the street, then closed the door and leaned against it. Tommy was the only guest remaining, helping himself to another beer from the kitchen. That was epic, brother. Absolutely epic. It was just the opening act, I said. The real show starts tomorrow. Sunday morning brought the kind of silence that follows explosions. I sat in my kitchen, drinking coffee and watching my phone light up with notifications. The videos from last night's party had spread across social media like wildfire. Local man exposes cheating wife at housewarming party, read the headline on the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone had posted a compilation video that already had 3,000 views and counting. The comments were brutal. OMG, I would have crawled under a rock and stayed there. That husband is savage. Good for him. Wait, isn't that the guy who owns that tech company? Miles something? Miles Grady from Grady Tech Solutions. Just looked him up. This is going to hurt his business. My phone rang. Vanessa's number. Hello, sweetheart. How was the honeymoon suite? Ethan, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Has it? Because from my perspective, we're just getting started. People are posting videos online. My coworkers are texting me. This is humiliating. Imagine how I felt reading your text messages about my adorable naivety. Humiliation builds character, don't you think? A long pause. What do you want? I want you to understand something, Vanessa. For months, you've been treating me like I'm stupid, like I wouldn't notice the late nights, the secret smiles, the way you light up when your phone buzzes. You thought you were so clever, planning your little escape with Miles. Ethan, I'm not finished. You want to leave? Fine. But you don't get to humiliate me in the process. You don't get to mock me to your boyfriend and then pretend we're a happy couple in public. So what happens now? Now you learn what it feels like to be on the receiving end. I hung up and opened my laptop. Time for Phase 2. The beauty of designing security systems is that you develop relationships with people who specialize in information. Private investigators, IT specialists, lawyers who handle messy divorces. Over the years, I'd helped all of them protect their own homes and businesses. Now it was time to call in some favors. My first call went to Janet Morrison, a private investigator who specialized in corporate espionage. I'd installed a state-of-the-art system in her office after someone tried to break in and steal client files. "Ethan, I saw the video. Brilliant work." "Thanks, Janet. I need a favor." "Name it." "Miles Grady. Grady Tech Solutions. I want to know everything about his business dealings, his other relationships, his financial situation, everything." "How deep do you want me to dig?" "Deep enough to find things he doesn't want found." "Give me 48 hours." My second call went to Marcus Chen, a digital forensics expert who'd helped me understand some of the more sophisticated hacking attempts on my clients' systems. "Marcus, I need you to analyze some data for me. Text messages, email patterns, social media activity. I want to know if my wife and her boyfriend have been planning this longer than I think. Send me what you've got. I'll run it through my analysis software." The third call was harder. My lawyer, David Brennan, Tommy's older brother and one of the best divorce attorneys in Boston. "Dave, I think I'm going to need your services." I figured. Saw the video. Half the city's talking about it. "What are my options?" "Well, you've got clear evidence of adultery, which helps in Massachusetts. But Ethan, that stunt you pulled last night, it's going to complicate things." "How so?" "Judges don't like public humiliation, even when it's deserved. Vanessa's lawyer is going to paint you as vindictive and unstable." "What if I told you I think there's more to this than just an affair?" "What do you mean?" I explained my suspicions about the timing, the way Vanessa had been asking questions about my business, the subtle probing about my client list and contracts. "You think she's after your company?" "I think Miles needs technology patents for his next venture, and marrying my wife would give him access to everything I've developed." "That's a serious accusation. Can you prove it?" "I'm working on it." By Monday morning, the story had spread beyond our neighborhood. A local news blog picked it up, then a morning radio show. The video compilation had been viewed over 50,000 times. I was installing a system for a new client in Newton when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Doyle? This is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about the incident at your party." No comment. "We understand you're a local businessman. Our viewers would love to hear your side of the story." My side was pretty clear in the video, don't you think? I hung up, but the calls kept coming. News outlets, podcast hosts, even someone claiming to represent a reality TV show about relationship drama. Tommy met me for lunch at our usual spot, a dive bar near his job site that served the best burgers in the city. "You're famous, brother. My crew's been talking about you all morning." "This is getting out of hand?" "Are you kidding? This is perfect. You've got public sympathy, social media on your side, and Vanessa looking like the villain. Don't back down now." "Dave thinks I went too far." "Dave's a lawyer. He gets paid to worry about everything. You did what needed doing." My phone buzzed with a text from Janet Morrison. "Call me. Found something interesting." "I've got to take this," I told Tommy. Janet's voice was excited. "Ethan, you were right to be suspicious. Miles Grady is in serious financial trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "The kind where his last startup didn't actually sell for $40 million. More like $4 million, and most of that went to investors and creditors. He's been living off credit and fake it till you make it for the past 2 years. So he's broke? Worse than broke. He owes money to some very unpleasant people, the kind who don't accept late payments gracefully. And Vanessa? Has been researching divorce law in Massachusetts, specifically how business assets get divided. She's also been asking questions about your client contracts and patent applications." The pieces clicked into place. Miles needed money and technology. Vanessa needed an exit strategy from our marriage. Together, they could destroy me financially and personally while setting themselves up for life. "There's more," Janet continued. "Miles has been running the same game for 3 years. Find a successful woman in a vulnerable marriage, seduce her, convince her to leave her husband and bring whatever assets she can access." "He's done this before?" "Twice that, I can confirm. Both women ended up bankrupt and alone when Miles moved on to his next target." "What happened to them?" "One lost her house and her business. The other is still fighting him in court over money he stole from her accounts." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not just anger anymore, but clarity. This wasn't about love or passion or even greed. It was about predators and prey. "Janet, I need you to contact those other women. I want to know everything about Miles's methods, his timeline, his weaknesses." "Already on it. I'll have a full report by tomorrow." That evening, I sat in my empty house, planning. The viral video had been satisfying, but it was just the beginning. Miles and Vanessa thought they were playing a long game, slowly maneuvering me into position for maximum exploitation. Time to show them what a real long game looked like. I opened my laptop and began typing. If they wanted to destroy my reputation, I'd give them something to really talk about. If they thought they could steal my life's work, they were about to learn the difference between hacking hotel reservations and taking on someone who'd spent 20 years learning how to protect valuable things. My phone rang. Vanessa again. Ethan, please. Can we meet somewhere and talk about this like adults? Where's Miles? What does that matter? Is he listening to this conversation? Planning your next move together? Silence. I thought so. Here's the thing, Vanessa. I know about the other women. I know about Miles's debts. I know this isn't about love or even attraction. This is about money. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. You found a predator who promised to help you take everything I've built, and you decided that was easier than working on our marriage or asking for a fair divorce. That's not... Save it. I'm done being the naive husband who doesn't see what's happening in his own house. From now on, I'm the guy who fights back. I hung up and returned to my laptop. Time to introduce Miles Grady to the concept of consequences. Tuesday morning brought rain and a knock at my door. I opened it to find a process server holding an envelope that would change everything. Ethan Doyle? That's me. You're being served. The papers were from Vanessa's lawyer, a restraining order claiming I'd been harassing her and Miles through digital stalking and public humiliation. She wanted me out of our house within 48 hours. I called Dave immediately. They're moving fast, he said, after I read him the documents, and this is about controlling the narrative. If they can paint you as the unstable aggressor, it shifts the focus away from her adultery. Can they kick me out of my own house? Temporarily, yes. We'll fight it, but for now, you need to comply. Pack what you need and find somewhere else to stay. This is insane. This is strategy. And Ethan, be very careful what you do next. They're watching, waiting for you to make a mistake they can use against you. I spent the morning packing, my mind racing through possibilities. Every item I put in boxes felt like a small defeat, but I forced myself to think strategically. Sometimes you have to retreat to win the war. Tommy helped me load my truck. You can stay at my place as long as you need. Thanks, brother, but I've got other plans. That afternoon, I drove to an extended-stay hotel near my office. Not glamorous, but functional. More importantly, it was a place where I could work without interference. Janet Morrison arrived at 6 with a thick folder and a grim expression. The other women agreed to talk, she said, settling into the hotel room's single chair. Miles Grady is a predator, but he's also sloppy. He uses the same playbook every time. She opened the folder, revealing photographs and documents. Woman number 1, Rebecca Martinez, divorced architect from Chicago. Miles convinced her to leave her husband and invest her settlement money in his revolutionary new startup. When the company folded, she discovered he'd been using her money to pay personal debts. How much did she lose? Everything. House, savings, retirement fund. She's working as a freelance draftsperson now, living in a studio apartment. And the second woman? Patricia Wong, software developer from Seattle. Same pattern, but she got suspicious when Miles started asking detailed questions about her company's proprietary code. She hired a lawyer and discovered he'd been copying her files. Is she willing to testify? More than willing. She wants revenge as much as you do. I studied the timeline Janet had constructed. Miles's pattern was methodical. Identify the target, research her vulnerabilities, create the perfect persona to exploit those weaknesses, then systematically extract whatever value he could before disappearing. How long does his typical operation take? 4 to 6 months from first contact to final extraction. Based on when Vanessa started acting differently, I'd say you're about 3 months in. Which means he's planning to make his move soon. Very soon. Rebecca said Miles always got nervous as the timeline compressed. He'd push for bigger risks, faster access to money and assets. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging, or things get complicated for everyone. I showed it to Janet. Miles? Probably. He knows I've been asking questions about him. The fact that he's threatening you means we're getting close to something important. Good, let him sweat. That evening, I called Marcus Chen for an update on his analysis of Vanessa's digital communications. Interesting patterns, he said. Your wife's been researching more than just divorce law. She's been looking into business valuation methods, patent transfer procedures, and something called marital asset maximization strategies. What's that last one? Legal techniques for extracting maximum value from a spouse's business during divorce proceedings. Very sophisticated stuff. She's been studying this for months. And Miles? His digital footprint shows he's been researching your company extensively. Client lists, contract values, patent applications. He knows almost as much about your business as you do. How is that possible? Someone's been feeding him information, detailed, inside information that only a few people would have access to. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Vanessa hadn't just been planning to leave me. She'd been conducting industrial espionage, gathering intelligence for Miles to use against my business. Marcus, I need you to do something for me. Can you trace when and how that information was accessed? Already on it. Give me another day. I hung up and stared at the rain streaking down the hotel window. This wasn't just about a cheating wife anymore. This was about the systematic destruction of everything I'd built over 20 years. My phone rang. Tommy. Turn on Channel 7, now. I grabbed the remote and found the local news. A perfectly coiffed reporter stood outside my house, my former house, interviewing Vanessa. Mrs. Doyle, you filed a restraining order against your husband. Can you tell us why? Vanessa looked appropriately distressed, her eyes red-rimmed and her voice shaky. Ethan has been stalking and harassing me since our separation. He's accessed private communications, manipulated our home's electronic systems, and made threats against me and my friend Miles. What kind of threats? He's used his knowledge of security systems to invade our privacy in frightening ways. I don't feel safe in my own home. The reporter nodded sympathetically. We understand there was an incident at a recent party. My husband publicly humiliated me in front of our friends and neighbors. He displayed private messages without consent and made accusations that were completely inappropriate. And Mr. Grady? How has he been affected by this situation? The camera panned to show Miles standing supportively beside Vanessa, his arm around her shoulders. Miles has been nothing but a friend during this difficult time. Ethan's jealousy and paranoia have made him a target of harassment as well. I threw the remote at the wall. My phone immediately started ringing. Dave Brennan. Did you see it? Hard to miss. This changes things, Ethan. She's controlling the narrative now, painting herself as the victim. The judge is going to see this. So what do I do? Nothing. Don't respond, don't retaliate, don't give them more ammunition. Let me handle the legal response. And in the meantime, they get to destroy my reputation while planning to steal my business. In the meantime, you document everything and let the system work. I hung up, frustrated. The system hadn't protected Rebecca Martinez or Patricia Wong. The system had let Miles operate his con game for years without consequences. Sometimes you have to work outside the system. I opened my laptop and began typing. If Vanessa wanted to play the victim, I'd give her an audience that could see through the performance. If Miles thought he could intimidate me with anonymous texts, he was about to learn what real pressure felt like. The war was just beginning, and I had no intention of fighting fair. My phone buzzed with another unknown number. Last warning. Back off or everyone gets hurt. I typed back, come and make me. Then I got back to work. Wednesday morning brought news that changed everything. Marcus Chen called at 7 a.m., his voice tight with excitement. Ethan, I found something big. The information Miles has about your business, it wasn't just gathered through casual observation. What do you mean? Someone installed keylogger software on your home computer. Professional-grade stuff, nearly invisible. It's been recording everything you type for the past 4 months. I felt the room spin slightly. Everything? Passwords, emails, client communications, patent applications, financial records. Everything. Who installed it? Had to be someone with physical access to your computer. Someone who knew enough about your habits to install it when you wouldn't notice. Vanessa. My own wife had been spying on me, stealing my business secrets to hand over to her boyfriend. Marcus, can you trace where the information was being sent? Already did. Miles Grady's personal server. He's got copies of everything. Is that legal? Absolutely not. It's corporate espionage, identity theft, and about 6 other felonies. You could have them both arrested. I thought about that. Arrest would be satisfying, but it would also be quick. Over in a few months, maybe a year, Miles would hire expensive lawyers, probably get probation. Vanessa would claim she was manipulated, play the victim card again. Not yet, I said. I want to document everything first. Build an airtight case. Your call, but Ethan, this is serious criminal activity. They're not just trying to hurt you personally, they're stealing your life's work. After Marcus hung up, I sat in my hotel room, processing the magnitude of the betrayal. It wasn't enough for Vanessa to leave me. She had to destroy me completely, steal everything I'd built, and hand it over to a con man who'd probably abandon her as soon as he got what he wanted. The rage that filled me was different from anything I'd felt before. Cold, calculating, focused. They wanted to play games with my life? Time to show them what a real game looked like. My first move was simple but effective. I called my business insurance company. "This is Ethan Doyle from Doyle Security Systems. I need to report a potential corporate espionage incident." "What kind of incident, Mr. Doyle?" "Someone has been accessing my proprietary business information without authorization. I have evidence of keylogger software and data theft." "We'll need to send an investigator immediately. This could affect your coverage if client information has been compromised." "I understand. How soon can someone be here?" "This afternoon?" "Perfect. An insurance investigation would create an official paper trail, document the extent of the theft, and establish legal grounds for everything that came next." My second move required a trip to Patricia Wong in Seattle. I booked a flight for that evening. Patricia met me at a coffee shop near Pike Place Market. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with the kind of intense focus that comes from being burned by someone you trusted. "Miles Grady destroyed my life," she said without preamble. "If you're planning to take him down, I want to help." "Tell me about his methods." "He's patient, methodical. He spent weeks researching me before we even met, learned exactly what I needed to hear. I was going through a rough patch with my ex-husband, feeling undervalued at work. Miles appeared at exactly the right moment with exactly the right words." "How did he gain access to your business information?" "Same way he's probably doing with you. He convinced me to let him use my home computer for his consulting work. Installed software that gave him remote access to everything." "And you didn't suspect anything?" "Why would I? I was in love. Or thought I was. Miles is very good at making women feel special, like they're the most important thing in his world. Until they're not. Until they've given him what he needs, then he becomes cold, distant, starts picking fights so he can justify leaving." "How long did the whole process take?" 6 months from start to finish. By the time I realized what was happening, he'd copied our entire codebase and was already working on his next target." "Rebecca Martinez in Chicago?" "Exactly. I tried to warn her, but she didn't believe me. Thought I was just a jealous ex trying to sabotage her happiness." I showed Patricia the photos from Vanessa's phone, the text messages planning their hotel rendezvous. Classic Miles behavior. He always books expensive hotels, makes his targets feel like they're living a fairy tale. Then he sticks them with the bill. "What's his end game with Vanessa?" "Same as always. Extract maximum value, then disappear. But your wife is different from me and Rebecca." "How so?" "We were successful but isolated. Easy targets. Your wife has social connections, community standing. If Miles burns her too obviously, it could damage his reputation and make it harder to find future marks. So he'll be more careful with her. Or more ruthless. Depends on how desperate he's getting." Patricia pulled out her phone and showed me a news article from earlier that day. "Miles Grady's tech company faces bankruptcy as investors pull funding." "When did this happen?" "This morning. His creditors are circling. He needs money fast, or he's going to face some very unpleasant consequences." The timeline was accelerating. Miles was running out of time and options, which made him dangerous. "Patricia, would you be willing to testify about Miles's methods? In court, if necessary?" "I've been waiting 3 years for that opportunity." I flew back to Boston that night with a clearer picture of what I was facing. Miles wasn't just a cheating boyfriend. He was a career criminal who'd perfected a system of emotional and financial manipulation. Vanessa wasn't just an unfaithful wife. She was an active participant in corporate espionage. The game had changed. This wasn't about marriage or revenge anymore. This was about justice. Thursday morning brought a call from the insurance investigator. "Mr. Doyle, we've completed our preliminary analysis of your computer systems. The keylogger software we found is sophisticated and expensive. Whoever installed this had serious technical knowledge and significant financial resources." "What's the extent of the data breach?" "Comprehensive. Client lists, contract details, proprietary security protocols, patent applications. If this information reaches your competitors, it could destroy your business." "What are my options?" "We're recommending you contact the FBI immediately. This level of corporate espionage falls under federal jurisdiction." "And my insurance coverage?" "We'll cover the costs of system security upgrades and legal fees, but if client data has been compromised, you could face significant liability issues." I thanked the investigator and hung up, my mind racing. FBI involvement would make this official, public, serious. It would also take the situation out of my hands. But maybe that was exactly what Miles and Vanessa deserved. I was reaching for my phone to call the federal field office when it rang. Unknown number again. "Ethan, we need to talk." Miles's voice tight with stress. "I'm listening." This has gotten out of hand. We can work something out. Make this go away quietly. What did you have in mind? You drop the harassment, stop investigating my background, and we can arrange a clean separation. Vanessa keeps the house, you keep your business, everyone moves on. And you? I disappear from both your lives. You never see me again. Tempting offer. There's just one problem. What's that? I know about the keylogger software, Miles. I know you've been stealing my business secrets for months. I know about Rebecca Martinez and Patricia Wong. I know about your debts and your bankruptcy. Long silence. You can't prove any of that. Actually, I can. Federal investigators are very good at tracing digital evidence. Did you know that keylogger software leaves unique fingerprints that can be traced back to the purchaser? You're bluffing. Am I? Here's what's going to happen, Miles. You're going to return every piece of stolen data. You're going to sign a confession detailing your criminal activities. And you're going to compensate your previous victims. And if I refuse? Then tomorrow morning, I call the FBI and you spend the next 10 years in federal prison. Your choice. I hung up and immediately called Janet Morrison. Janet, I need surveillance on Miles Grady starting now. He's going to panic and do something stupid. Already on it. My team's been watching him since yesterday. And? He's been making a lot of phone calls to people who don't sound happy with him. Also, he just booked a flight to the Cayman Islands for tomorrow night. Running? Looks like it. One-way ticket, departure at 11 p.m. The pieces were falling into place. Miles was trapped, desperate, and planning to flee. That made him unpredictable and dangerous. Time to force his hand before he could escape. I picked up my phone and dialed the FBI field office. This is Ethan Doyle. I need to report a federal crime in progress. Friday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood as I sat in the FBI field office, watching Special Agent Sarah Martinez review the evidence I'd compiled. Marcus Chen had delivered a comprehensive digital forensics report. Janet Morrison had provided surveillance documentation, and Patricia Wong had flown in from Seattle to give her statement. Mr. Doyle, this is extensive, Agent Martinez said, looking up from her laptop. Corporate espionage, identity theft, wire fraud, computer crimes. We're looking at multiple federal violations. What happens now? We move fast. If Mr. Grady has booked travel for tonight, we need to intercept him before he leaves the country. And my wife? Mrs. Doyle's involvement will be determined by the evidence. Installing keylogger software on a shared computer is legally complex, but providing stolen business information to a third party is clear-cut conspiracy. My phone buzzed with a text from Tommy. Vanessa's at the house packing boxes. Looks like she's planning to leave, too. I showed the message to Agent Martinez. We need to move now, she said, reaching for her phone. I'm calling for backup units. Agent Martinez, I have a request. What is it? Let me talk to them first. One last conversation before you make the arrests. That's not standard procedure. Miles is desperate and probably armed. Vanessa is emotionally unstable. If federal agents show up without warning, someone could get hurt. She considered this. You'd be wearing a wire, everything recorded, and you follow our instructions exactly. Understood. An hour later, I sat in an FBI surveillance van 2 blocks from my house, wearing a wire and listening to Agent Martinez explain the plan. You go in, get them talking about the crimes, then give us the signal. We move in and make the arrests. What's the signal? Say the phrase, I think we're done here. That's our cue. And if something goes wrong? We'll be listening to everything. First sign of trouble, we come in. I walked up the driveway of my former home, noting the rental truck parked outside. Through the windows, I could see boxes stacked in the living room. They were definitely planning to run. Vanessa opened the door before I could knock. She looked tired, stressed, older than her 36 years. Ethan, what are you doing here? We need to talk, all of us. Miles isn't here. Yes, he is. His car's in the garage. She stepped aside reluctantly. 5 minutes, then you leave. Miles appeared from the kitchen, carrying a box of electronics. My electronics, I noticed, including the external hard drive where I kept backup files of my most sensitive projects. Ethan, didn't expect to see you here. I bet you didn't. Planning a trip? Just helping Vanessa move some things. To the Cayman Islands? Miles's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Flight 447, departing Logan at 11 tonight. One-way ticket, very romantic getaway destination. Vanessa looked confused. Miles, what is he talking about? Nothing. He's trying to cause trouble. I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot of Miles's flight reservation. He didn't tell you? He's leaving tonight. Without you. That's not... Vanessa started, then stopped, looking at Miles with growing suspicion. Miles? Her voice was small, uncertain. Vanessa, don't listen to him. He's trying to manipulate you. Like you manipulated Rebecca Martinez? I asked. And Patricia Wong? Miles set down the box, his hands shaking slightly. I don't know those names. Really? Because Patricia's here in Boston. She'd love to meet you again. Tell Vanessa about your methods. What methods? Vanessa demanded. The keylogger software for starters. The systematic theft of business information. The pattern of seducing successful women, stealing their assets, then disappearing. Miles took a step toward me. You need to stop talking. Or what? You'll threaten me again? Like you did with those anonymous texts? I never... Miles, what is he talking about? Vanessa's voice was rising. What keylogger software? I looked directly at my wife. The software Miles installed on our home computer. The program that's been recording everything I typed for 4 months. Every password, every client communication, every business secret. That's not possible, Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. Show her the hard drive you're stealing, Miles. Show her the files you've copied. Miles grabbed the box again. We're leaving, now. No. Vanessa stepped between him and the door. I want to see what's in that box. Vanessa, trust me, we don't have time for this. Show me the box, Miles. He hesitated, then set it down again. Vanessa opened it, revealing external drives, USB sticks, and printed documents. She pulled out a folder labeled Doyle Security, Client Database. Miles, why do you have Ethan's client files? It's not what it looks like. She kept digging, finding more folders, patent applications, financial records, system protocols. You've been stealing from him. It wasn't a question. Vanessa, let me explain. How long? Her voice was ice cold now. How long have you been using me to steal from my husband? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because this looks exactly like corporate espionage. Miles ran his hands through his hair. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I owe money to dangerous people. I needed something to trade, something valuable. So you used me. I love you. No, you don't. You love what I could give you access to? I watched my wife's face as the truth sank in. The anger, the betrayal, the realization that she'd been played by an expert manipulator. Vanessa, I said quietly, he's done this before. Multiple times. You're not his first victim, and you wouldn't have been his last. She looked at me with something that might have been gratitude. How many others? At least 2 that we know of. Both left financially ruined. Miles was backing toward the kitchen now, looking for another exit. This is all lies. Vanessa, don't listen to him. The flight to the Cayman Islands, Miles. Were you planning to take me? Silence. Were you? It's complicated. No, it's not. You were going to disappear tonight with stolen business secrets and leave me here to face the consequences. I would have sent for you. When? After you'd sold Ethan's patents to his competitors? After you'd destroyed his business and my life? Miles made a sudden move toward the back door. I stepped to block him. Going somewhere? Get out of my way, Ethan. I don't think so. We're not finished talking. Yes, we are. He reached into his jacket. Miles, don't. Vanessa's voice was sharp with fear. He pulled out what looked like a small pistol. Nobody moves. The room went quiet. Through my wire, I could hear Agent Martinez's voice. Onro, all units. Suspect is armed. Moving in now. Miles, I said carefully. You don't want to do this. It just makes everything worse. Everything's already worse. My business is gone, my creditors want me eliminated, and now the FBI is probably on their way. How did you... You think I'm stupid? You think I didn't notice the surveillance? The federal investigators asking questions about me? Then you know you can't run from this. I can try. The front door exploded inward as federal agents poured into the house, weapons drawn. FBI, drop your weapon. Miles swung the gun toward the agents. I dove forward, tackling him around the waist. We crashed into the coffee table as the gun went flying. Ethan, no! Vanessa screamed. Federal agents swarmed over us, separating Miles and me, securing the weapon. Miles Grady, you're under arrest for corporate espionage, wire fraud, computer crimes, and conspiracy, Agent Martinez announced, snapping handcuffs on his wrists. Miles looked at Vanessa as they led him away. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. She didn't respond. Mrs. Doyle, Agent Martinez said, we need you to come with us for questioning. Am I under arrest? That depends on your level of cooperation. Vanessa looked at me one last time. Ethan, I'm sorry for all of it. I know. They led her away, leaving me alone in the wreckage of our living room. The boxes were still there, packed with stolen goods and broken dreams. My phone rang. Tommy. Brother, I saw the news trucks. You okay? Yeah, it's over. Good. You want to grab a beer and tell me about it? More than anything. I walked out of the house, leaving the door open for the FBI forensics team. In the driveway, I could see news vans gathering, reporters setting up cameras. The story would be everywhere by tonight. Local businessman exposes corporate espionage ring. FBI arrests tech executive in elaborate con game. Housewarming party revenge goes federal. I thought about Rebecca Martinez and Patricia Wong, finally getting justice. I thought about my business, damaged but recoverable. I thought about my son Liam, who would need explanations and reassurance when he got home from camp. Most of all, I thought about the future. No more checking my wife's phone for evidence of betrayal. No more wondering if the person sleeping next to me was planning my destruction. No more living with enemies disguised as family. I climbed into my truck and drove away from the chaos, toward Tommy's bar and the first honest conversation I'd had in months. The war was over, I had won. But more importantly, I had survived. And sometimes survival is the greatest victory of all.